Make us all sit up and take notice.
Now, in a moment, we'll be heading outside to speak to Chris Packham to get his thoughts on the series and the crisis facing the planet. But first, here's an exclusive look at Sunday's episode, where scientist Dr. Hamish Pritchard reveals why something that we all take for granted could soon be under threat.
After hours of scanning, the projection for this particular glacier is finally revealed.
Yeah, that's pretty nice and clear. I can see exactly how thick that ice is. That's about 150 metres. So at the current rate of melting, this section would last maybe 200 to 300 years. But we know that the melt rates are increasing. And this is one of the biggest glaciers, so there are many, many glaciers which are much smaller than this, much thinner ice. And they're going to be disappearing much, much earlier than that.
Water is already scarce in parts of Asia, and as glacial water supplies dry up, there will be even less to go round.
So what happens if these glaciers disappear? Is that in dry summers the rivers dry up. Tensions rise, especially between nations that share water across borders. So one of the big risks of losing this ice is that it raises the risk of conflict. And that's a frightening prospect. I have a 1-year-old son. Children born at the same time as him will see this happen. We need to act now to turn those trajectories round.
Gosh, how sobering is that? You know, I've got a 1-year-old myself, and I'm really frightened to think about what the state this planet will be in, you know, by the time she's our age.
I mean, all of those programmes, they are so frightening because they're so true, you know, it's all based on fact. And you know what? I've got to say it though, anything with Sir David Attenborough in, I'm all over it.
It's the gospel, isn't it?
I'm all over it. But look, we are right now joined by wildlife presenter Chris Packham. Chris, thoughts on what we just saw?
Very, very frightening. I mean, absolutely terrifying, to be quite honest with you. Scientists are normally quite dispassionate, pragmatic people. They're about gathering the data and providing the information. But when they start advocating, when they're on the brink of campaigning, we know things are very serious and it's time to listen to them. And you have a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is that your child's going to grow into a very different world and that we do have to act.
Well, we are trying tonight to do something small to help the situation. Tell us what's going on here.
OK, so we've got a team of cyclists here.
Yeah.
Increasingly healthy people pedaling their bikes. And we're using their energy to generate electrical energy. So every time the wheel goes round, it powers and charges a battery, which news teams will be using tomorrow. But more immediately and pertinently, we're going to use now to project a very stark statistic onto the building behind us.
Well, let's see that very important message that these bikes are powering then.
Our planet loses 2.6 million tonnes of ice every minute. And that's 10 times the size of this building. Every minute. We're trying to put into perspective here what's going on in these frozen parts of our world that are rapidly unfreezing.
Oh my goodness, that is quite a lot to take in, isn't it? 10 times this building. Tell us about the ice melting then, Chris, and what it means in different
Well, there are a
parts
suite
of
of serious problems. In the film there, we saw the glaciers in the Himalayas melting. Now, they feed a series of river systems, which are really important for much of Asia, keeping people fed. That's where they grow their food. Keeping those economies, very powerful economies going. If the water runs out and people are thirsty, then they'll move. And those economies will collapse. That will have global repercussions. And as soon as people start moving around the world, we know that that promotes conflict. So in that area, we're looking at societal collapse, a very serious issue. Elsewhere, we've got ice shelves and sheets melting. Greenland, Antarctica. And here, I mean, it's simple physics. If all of this frozen fresh water melts and goes into our sea, we get sea level rise.
Yeah.
And again, the scientists, the people with their fingers on the pulse, are telling us that this will impact in our lifetimes. Cities in the UK, Lincoln, Blackpool, Portsmouth, London, all of these low-lying areas, and of course, across the world, it will mean devastation for millions of people.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
It's so scary, you know, hearing you say it. The UN climate conference, climate change conference, COP. They're coming back together again, aren't they, in Egypt?
They are. It's really important this time that we get global agreement on addressing this. We keep setting targets which we don't get anywhere near meeting. We keep making promises that we don't keep. And the one thing that we've got to do with these conferences is realise that the richer nations, that's us, have got to help the poorer nations through this transition. They simply can't afford to address the issues in the way that we can.
No.
So equality is at the core of what they need to achieve.
Yeah.
But one thing we've got to keep in mind is that we are one species on one planet with one massive problem. And this, I think, is our one last chance to sort it out. So we've all got to play a role.
And there are some people who think, you know, oh, it's too late. But if we all act now, Chris, is it reversible? Is there a chance that we can make things...
Alex, there are going to be changes. There are going to be difficult times ahead. There's no doubt about that. We know that now. So that's about adaptation. But yes, there is still hope. We have a suite of means of addressing this. And as much as we must ask our global governments to do that, we can all play a role ourselves. And in this country, we choose what we put in our mouth. And food has an enormous impact on our climate, what we eat. And also, of course, there's fossil fuels. No more exploration, no more extraction, and we can all cut down on our journeys and reduce. And that's what we've been aiming to do with our clean energy here tonight. So when opportunities arise for us to change our practices and minds, we've all got to take it for the sake of our planet.
Fantastic.
And we have to say a big thank you as well to our cyclists this evening. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Why are they wearing t-shirts? It's cold. Look, you can see the final episode of Frozen Planet 2 on Sunday at 8 p.m. on BBC One and iPlayer, and Autumn Watch starts on the 25th of October on BBC Two.